in early 2010 following the, there was an attack on a guy in Merseyside who was a PCSO, James Parks, at the end of 2009. And that was a bit of a wake-up call for me and my husband Jason, because we kind of lived in a life with a lot of straight friends, don't frequent the gay scene, just had a few gay friends, and that kind of homophobic attack was a real, what, this still happens? And we thought, hang on, if we're not awake to this, other people, we did a lot of research, we found a lot of attacks, it was horrendous, and we developed this show, which is show 1, the one you're about to see, based on stories we'd heard, experiences we'd read about, stories from our own lives, and just a sequence of scenes that are very punchy, keep young people's attention, and not young people, of course, because as has been said, we've performed in schools, colleges, prisons, libraries, at workplaces, all over the place. We do have a pretty good body of work. When we come into a school, we perform the show, and then we have a discussion workshop. Homophobia.
Bigotry.
Hatred.
Intolerance.
Homophobia. Homophobia. What does it mean? Well, homo from the Greek meaning same, and phobia meaning right frightened and a little bit upset. We are fortunate enough today to be joined by an expert in all things homophobic, generic professor all the way from the University of... with a lecture for us entitled Homophobia, the Untamed Beast, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Accept Alternate Sexuality.
Excuse me, I've got something I want to say first.
Well, you'll get your chance in a moment. I'm just doing the introduction.
Don't backchat me, faggot.
Observe, if you will. The commoner garden homophobe, Latin name Limpus homophobius, in his natural habitat.
So there I am walking down the street the other day minding my own business when I sees it, fancying like a tit. Oi, faggot! Buzz going by, so he never heard me. Try again. Oi, queer! I got the day, pass his attention. Comes over, tries to be all nice, he does. Yeah, can I help? He bleats. Scared to fuck he was, I could tell, I could sense it. Buzzing I was.
Push of the shoulders.
Are you a queer? Nothing.
Punch to the chest.
Are you a bender? A bye boy? Not a word. Not a fucking word.
Punch.
Down he goes.
Kick.
Dirty bastard.
Stomp.
Queer!
A moment of clarity. That could be you lying there.
Yeah, but it's not me, is it? It's just a queer boy.
Nino, 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 Nino.
Sirens.
Far, but not far enough.
Perhaps one last stomp for good measure.
Watch your back, queer! Hey, get a guy today. Might be you tomorrow. Or your granny. I'm just that kind of bloke. Laters.
Sticks and stones may break their bones, but names can never hurt them. A flawed philosophy at best. Let us all imagine for just a moment that this rather attractive clipboard I'm holding is, in fact, a giant coin. I'm holding it thusly, and thus you can only see one side. Yet if I turn it thusly, what appears to be another side is revealed. Let us all imagine for a moment that the homophobe has become a father. And let us all explore this in depth.
Come on, you bloody horse!
Hey, Dad, you alright?
Hey, you alright, lad? Hey, I've got a fiver on this bugger. It looks like it's going to win.
Hey, that's good, Dad. Hey, look, I needed to talk to you, but if you're busy, it's alright, but it's kind of important, you see.
It ain't important. Your mother didn't get me Sky Plus for nothing. Tell me you've got a girl up the duff like Bill's lad next door. Could do with a pitter patter of tiny feet round here.
No, it's not like that, Dad. It's just that been wanting to tell you something for a while now, and Mam knows now as well, so I think it's about time I told you as well.
Oh, aye. You and your mum keeping secrets from me. Well, there's no you can tell the old bird that you can't tell your old dad. Spit it out, lad.
I'm gay, Dad.
What?
I'm gay, Dad. You see, I've always known that I've been gay. It's just I've always been too scared to tell you, but now it seems like the right time because I'm seeing someone.
Are you telling me my only son is a queer?
No, I'm telling you that I'm gay, Dad.
Pack a bag.
What?
Push of the shoulders.
Pack a bag and get out of this house! I'm having no queer living under this roof. Go on now, before I do something I really regret.
Oh, look. Oh, you got paper. Lovely.
Yeah, and I got called a queer again, which was nice, not. You know, I'm getting sick of it around here. I don't feel safe anymore.
Oh, look, love, I know it's hard, but we can't up sticks and leave every time some pillock calls us a faggot. At least that's all it was.
I think you're being a bit blasé about everything. Have you heard about the attack? There's a lad in bloody hospital.
Yeah, I know, Peter told me. I'm not willing to take that as a reflection of the area on a whole. It's not fair.
It was a reflection on something, and whatever it is, it ain't pretty.
No, you're right, it is. But it's only a reflection on the person who did it, or said it, or both. Look, I'm not willing to tar everybody with the same brush based on the actions of one or two pillocks. That's what they've done to us for years. It's not fair to anyone. You've got to be better than that.
And in the next slide, we can see quite clearly that before a beast can walk, it needs to grow legs. How do such legs begin to form? I'd like to use a series of perhaps stereotypical situations and visuals, if I may. Ladies and gentlemen, cue life!
Look at the one that's my favourite toy, my dolly. Her name is David. She's got a pocket for marbles, and that stripy top is one that I've got for my holidays. And watch this, right? I can make her into a rock chick. Dum 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 dum.
Oh, Johnny, don't play with that, darling. Dolls are for little girls.
Oh, I ain't my dolly, mummy. It's one of my favourite toys.
I know, darling. Look here. It's an action man. It's like a dolly, but for little boys. Like you. You see?
I don't understand, mummy. Look, I like my dolly, and watch this right now. I'm gonna make her a rock chick. I can make her fly like Super Dog.
I know, darling. Why don't we play in the garden and play a game of boyish football? No time to think about it, darling. Out we go.
Okay, mummy. I'm coming. Hi, Jason.
Hiya.
Ready?
Yeah.
Under the palm bushes, under the tree.
Bob, 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 Bob.
Oh, no way, Jason. You said bum, 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 bum.
So?
Peter Perkins at number 17 said that when a lad says bum, 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 that means he likes bums, and that makes you a puff. You're a puff.
Puff? What's a puff? Mom, what's a puff?
Oh my God, right, never guess what right?
What right?
So that Karen Spelton, right?
Yeah.
Got that dress on?
Yeah.
She looked well gay.
What, like Brian Dickens well gay, that gay?
Oh, what? No, wait, he's not that gay.
I mean, like, are you a tad or something? I mean, he's gay, but he wasn't that gay.
Because he's like, oh, well gay.
He is gayer than gay.
He's the gay tab of Gay Town, Gay Street, Gay Universe, Gay World.
Oh my God, gay walked up to him in the street once, right? He thought he looked in the mirror.
It's not the trainers, they are well gay. And Lucy sits behind me, flashlights like Jay. Can't get gay from that. But number 16, pass out on the bus. Who's trying to be so gay? Gay. Yeah.
These characters, yeah, they're well gay.
Look, I don't mind the gays, me. They're alright. So long as they don't try shoving their lifestyle down my throat, and up my arse for that matter, then I'm happy. Hey, now those lesbians. I don't mind those lesbians if you catch me drift.
Look. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid it tells me in this very book that homosexuality is wrong. This book tells me that homosexual relationships do not conform to my God's will for society. This book also tells me that tattoos are an abomination. Oh, excuse me. It's a little chilly in here. It tells me that growing 2 crops in the same field and wearing fabric woven of more than one cloth and eating shellfish, all abominations. And did you know that according to this book, unruly children can be killed? And men cannot speak to menstruating women. Of course, we ignore all that, because it doesn't fit in with modern day society. What does fit in is that 2 men should not bum. I mean, it's quite simple, really. If you're willing to change your ways, you'll be welcomed into my church and indeed the kingdom of my God. Stay as you are, and I'm afraid that you're going to burn in hell! Mark my words, homosexuals. Mark my holy, holy words.
Excuse me, but wouldn't it be just and only fair to say that your voice does not speak for everybody who hold religion dear?
Yes, sweetheart. Although it may be true to say that my voice doesn't speak for all those who hold religion dear, what's also true is that my voice speaks the loudest! All right!
In my book, there is nothing but love.
I've got the beers. Right, here you go, lads. Go up here. 2 quids in a bed. Bump, bump.
How'd you get 4 quids on a bar stool?
We do not know. How do you get 4 quids on a bar stool?
You turn the stool upside down. There's one for all bombs.
Alright, I've got one. What do you call a queer dinosaur?
We do not know. What do you call a queer dinosaur?
Well, if it's a male, Megasaurus. If it's a female, Lickalonopus.
That queer beer, you. Ooh, I've got an answer for you. What do you say to 3 straight blokes in pub who tell nothing but queer jokes?
We do not know. What do you say to 3 straight blokes in pub who tell nothing but queer jokes?
Methinks you doth protest too much, sirs. Well, let's have another pint. Maybe some nuts. What were you thinking as you stomped on my head? As you felt the bone crack beneath your angry heel, as you spat your venom onto my soul? What thoughts ran through?
I am but a man, myself.
Had I not the right to speak out against your vomited intolerance? Did you expect me to listen and fear?
I am but a man myself.
I cannot fear that which is so shallow and empty, and I would stand against your bigotry, even when it threatens to hurt me physically, because the alternative is that I allow it to destroy my mind. No. I only showed you a mirror, and what you saw made you want to kill me. Kill me. I mean, I'm just like you in so many ways, except that I dare to love another man. With all of my heart and every ounce of my being, with my soul, my lips, my eyes. I love another man.
I am but a man myself.
And I will live through this. I will still be whole, intact, unique, and to some, beautiful. My hand is extended should you ever be man enough to shake it. I am but a man myself.
Well, interesting visuals, I'm sure you'll agree. But now we move on to the biggest of beasts. The beast with the power of control and manipulation like no other. The beast whose insatiable appetite we feed with almost all that we do. The beast we call the media.
Roll up, and welcome to the wonderful world of the media! Pete Doherty, that lovable rogue, has had his wrist slapped in courts again today. We hope to hear you on our radios again soon, Pete.
Gay singer boy George has been charged with something gay, lewd and sexual. Ew, folks,
Jordan has got married on some exotic beach and most of us could only dream of visiting. Such wonderful news for that English beauty so full of fruit.
Gay singer George Michael has been charged with something gay, lewd and sexual. Ew, folks! Ew!
But now more from our very bubbly host, straight male presenter.
Welcome to the show, folks. Welcome to the show. We have 3 contestants, 1 chance to win a car, and 1 question. This week, we asked 100 homophobes mind, out on the street, what's the first thing they think of when we say the word gay? What do you think they said?
That's right, a good sense of fashion, home design.
It's a great answer, is it there? Oh, I'm afraid not. Contestant number 2, same question.
Alan Turing and the cracking of the Enigma code is effectively helped us win the Second World War.
It's a great answer. Is Alan there? Oh, I'm afraid not. Contestant number 3, Elsie, a regular on our show, determined to win that car. We asked 100 homophobes, Elsie, what was the first thing they thought of when we said the word gay? What do you think they said?
Is it the significant contribution made to the music industry from artists as culturally diverse as Sir Elton John, Katie Lang, the recently outed Latino sensation Ricky Martin, and the highly original best topside waisted Lady Gaga?
It's a great answer. The music industry. Oh, I'm afraid none of you were correct. Let's see what the most popular answers were from those homophobes. I'll remind you, the studio audience, the people watching at home, we asked 100 homophobes what's the first thing you think of when we say the word gay. The most popular answer is... Bing, bing. AIDS. Okay. And the second most popular answer is... Bing, bing. Pedophilia. And you will have that on the board. Okay. And the third most popular answer is... Bing, bing, bing. Oh, a double pointer, depravity and bombing. That would have won you the car, Elsie. Thank heaven you didn't say it. We'll be back on social awareness after these words from our sponsors. Is he the strong, silent type? Make your man happy. Give him what he deserves.
Please disregard this advertisement unless in possession of a full working vagina.
Isn't she lovely? Make her face light up, treat her like the goddess she is.
Males only need apply.
Homosexuals are advised that in the world of advertising you exist only as camp limp-wristed social hang-ons, or as deterrents to heterosexuals to force consumerism. We'll cash a ping pound, but don't expect to see your life on screen. Not in this lifetime, faggot.
Terms and conditions apply. The feeding habits of the beast are by no means straightforward. Oh, it has its patterns, regularities and sources, of course, but all too often, and perhaps unwittingly, can be fed and baited by the very same people who would seek to destroy it in the first place. Confused? A little bit. Yeah, so am I. Let's take in a visual, shall we? Let's create a bus. Yes, a bus. For those people without a northern accent. Yes. And here we see what looks to be a young gay couple, very much in love. You can usually tell by the eyes, can't you? Not to mention the floating love heart between them. And behind them here we see a solo male traveller with a baseball cap and tattoos. I'll bet he's a homophobe. Wait, surely that's me jumping to conclusions. Let's let the scene play out, shall we?
No, it is. I'm sure that's where we had our first date.
No, that was right back down there. It was more towards Market Street there.
Oh.
You're unforgettable, you aren't you?
What did I do without you?
I've done it again. Again, I pulled away from a kiss from the man that I love, and this isn't the first time it's happened, this is the 4th time in a month. And I know that because every time I ask myself, why do I pull away from a kiss from the man that I love? All because of one other person in the world. Is a world really full of homophobes like I keep telling myself it is? Maybe I'm homophobia. I know if we were alone I would accept this kiss from the man that I love. But maybe it's all just pure fear. Maybe it's all in my head. But still 4 times in a month. I don't understand.
I don't understand. I mean, you can take a moment on any given day to observe. Put yourself in another's shoes. I suppose that's one way we develop empathy. These guys shouldn't have to hide the way they feel, their emotions, their affections. Is it because of me? regular guy sat on a bus taking a moment. Talk about homophobia. Well, what about straight man phobia? You ever thought of that? If they could meet some of my friends, well, it might change some of their perceptions. And there's no doubt that it's going to take trust and acceptance from all people, but I reckon there's more out there like me. They wouldn't bat an eyelid. Yeah, they might glance, as with any public display. And for the minority that might say something, well, their lives must be governed by some unseen force, something that's stopping them from loving and respecting all people. So perhaps, just now and again, we should all take a moment.
Okay, consider this an interview, where the answers come direct from you. There's a few things we'd like to know, but we'll go easy, take it slow. Just simply answer yes or no. In this, our ode to those with phobia. Pens at the ready. Do I upset your ideas of masculinity and femininity? Your sense of what makes a man, what makes a woman? Do I queer the pitch, confuse the gender roles, and generally leave you feeling scared, cold, doubtful that everything you thought, everything you've been taught for every waking minute of your life might not be the gospel truth? Do I toy with centuries of indoctrination, portraits, paintings, photos, man and woman, M to F? Can you tell me what makes a man? Do I upset this perfect symmetry that everybody with a penis should be Vinnie Jones and shout and swear and nail the women to the floor, pillaging life like football outs fortified with 14 pints and T-bone steak? Do I mock the picture-perfect portrait of man and wife, hand in hand, woman in the kitchen washing pans, producing perfect little clones in gingham dresses, hair and pigtails, flawless makeup because she's worth it? Woo! Breasts out on a platter, eyes lowered in deference, smiles of a summer night. Well, sorry, but what you know as gender, friend, exists only in your head. You see, gender is something that we as men and women have created from nothing, based on what we have between our legs. Who we are is not our sex. That is the black and white that's too easy to subscribe to. So do my shades of grey offend? Because I dare to say that what makes a man or what makes a woman means more than what society tells us it should. Do I upset this sepia-safe wardrobe of beige and pastel hues by daring to wear a heart flame and colour? Is that it? If not, then what is it? How much of me can you take before you say no? This is not right. The sight of this means I no longer know what's right. This makes me sick, turns my stomach. Is it now?
Ta-da!
Is it now?
Ta-da!
Or is it now?
Ta-da!
Pens down now.
Quick observation. 2 gay men just kissed and no one in the room has died or gone blind. There's someone at the door.
Hi, Dad. Is Mum at all?
Saturday morning lectures at bingo.
Oh, yes. Well, could you pass it out for me, please? And Will.
It's your partner.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad. Simon, this is my dad, Simon.
Nice to meet you, Simon.
You too.
I'll be looking after my lad.
Yes.
Hey, it's Christmas. You 2 lads got time for a beer?
Well, I can't, I mean, I'm driving.
I've got some low alcohol.
One.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Come on. Hey, son. It being Christmas and all. Well, how's about me and you start fresh, lad?
Yeah, I like that, Dad.
I'm sorry, lad. Come on. Here it is.
See, the thing is, anybody can change. Anyone.
And so to conclude, it would seem that the beast we now know as homophobia remains at large. Elusive, occasionally quelled but ever present and awaiting its advantage. If experience has taught us anything, it's that no beast is an island, and this particular breed is no exception. If you should ever encounter it, exercise caution, of course, but pray, do not be fearful. You see, the beast and its kind feed on fear, and only by cutting off its food source can we ever realistically have any hope of its mass extinction. Before you leave the lecture hall today, students, I would like me and my colleagues here to share with you some stories of the people who are not here today because of the beast homophobia. Gentlemen, if you'll join me, please.
Ian Bainham, he was a 62-year-old man from London. He was out with friends in Trafalgar Square. He was gay, by the way. And 3 teenagers, well, 18, 19 and 20, so adults, really, decided that they were going to hurl abuse at Ian. And being 62 and a grown man, lived his life, he decided that he wasn't going to take this from 3 kids. So he stuck up for himself. Well, these kids didn't like that very much, so they proceeded to cross over the road, hurling homophobic abuse, faggot, queer. They started to beat him. They kicked him to the floor and continuously stomped on his head, calling him faggot. Ian died because of that attack. 62 years old, died, sticking up for who he was.
Michael Corso was an 18-year-old guy who was just having fun with some friends. Through reading some text on his phone, friends discovered that he was gay. Then took it upon themselves to beat him around the back of his head with a hardback book. And when he became unconscious, they dragged him outside and threw him over into a neighbour's garden, tried to frame it on someone else. It was only later when they found his blood on their clothing that they discovered it was them who had done the attack. And then Michael died 3 days later in hospital with his mother by his side.
Roxanne Ellis and Michelle Abdeel were 2 women who were very much in love and in a long-term committed relationship of over 10 years. A guy decided that he didn't like the way they lived their lives and he was going to do something about it, so he did. He paid them a visit. He knocked on their door and forced his way into their home. He put hoods over their heads and tied them up before shooting them both in the head. He then dumped the bodies in the back of his pickup truck and drove away and left their bodies in a lay-by 3 miles away.
Gisberta was a beautiful transgender woman from Portugal. Unfortunately homeless, she'd taken up residence on a building site not far from an orphanage, which was coincidentally run by the Catholic Church. 14 young boys between the ages of 10 and 16 from that orphanage decided that because they'd been taught she and her kind were abominations, they were going to do something about it. So they found her at the building site, they hog-tied her, they inserted branches and bottles inside her, burned her with cigarettes and beat her severely. And then they went back to the orphanage, had a good meal and a good night's sleep. And they went back a second day and did it all again. They did it for 3 days in a row. On the 3rd day, bored, they decided they'd had enough. They threw her body, what they thought was her body, into a 10-foot pit on the building site. The post-mortem revealed mud in her lungs, so she was actually still alive at that point. None of the young men were charged with anything at all, and the priest that ran the orphanage justified their behaviour by saying she was actually an abomination. The next 2 stories I've promised to tell at every Show 1 on Show or Show 1 2 performance for the rest of time, and I will do. This is 15-year-old.
Sorry.
It's all right. 15-year-old Dominic Crouch from Gloucestershire had a game of Truth, Dare, Kiss, Commando, Promise it was called in my day. It's just called Dare now, apparently. How things move on. And he kissed a boy. The other boy didn't get the same flack that poor Dom did. A text campaign started around school calling him a queer and a faggot and gay, and he really couldn't handle it. He mentioned it in the school and nothing was done. So he went to a 6-storey block of flats and stood on top contemplating suicide. He sent 3 texts to 999, but unless you're a registered deaf user, texts to 999 don't get through. He thought his cries for help were being ignored, so he threw himself off the block of flats. And he died instantly. His father, Roger Crouch, became a force to be reckoned with, fighting homophobia, an amazing man. In not last year, the year before, he won a Stonewall Award for his incredible work tackling homophobia. Unfortunately, in November of that year, 1 month after this picture was taken, his wife Paula found him hanging in the garage because he couldn't live without his son. Dom and Roger were both heterosexual. Homophobia doesn't care who it kills. So this is not just our issue, this is everyone's issue. We have all been abused, we've all been attacked, we've all had names called. We are going to add our own names to that list. Paul.
Jason.
Right.
Lee.
Homophobia, the worst disease. You can't love who you want to love in times like these.
Homophobia, the worst disease. You can't love who you want to love in times like these. Homophobia, the worst disease. You can't love who you want to love in times like these. Homophobia, the worst disease. You can't love who you want to love in times like these.
Homophobia.
Bigotry,
Hatred.
intolerance.
Please indulge me for one further minute, because this is a story that I will be adding and that I want to tell. The father-son scenes that you saw in this production are me and my life. That is exactly what happened with me and my dad. I got kicked out because I was caught in bed with my boyfriend on New Year's Day when I was 18. I got kicked out and told I'm having nothing queer going on in this house. And me and my dad didn't speak for about 3 years, and then one New Year's Eve, after I'd gone out with my parents, me and my dad didn't speak all night, and in the taxi, which was a van, he was the last one to get out other than me and my boyfriend, and he did exactly what I do there. He just turned around and said, "Let's me and you start fresh, son," and shook my hand, and we had a big hug. And from that moment on, my dad was amazing, proving that anybody can change. He died 2 weeks ago, and I miss him like crazy. But I just wanted you to know that that horrific part became beautiful. And he sat in the front row of mine and Jason's wedding. Sorry. Cried like a baby. And gave us both massive hugs after and said it was one of the proudest days of his life. Anyone can change. This would be the point when we would sit down and open ourselves up to questions, everything except who's the girl and who's the boy, because we're both boys. And to be honest with you, the questions that we've had in schools, primary schools and secondary schools, have been incredible. Really intelligent young people that have a thirst for knowledge, that want to know why they haven't been taught about these things. Why aren't these things being discussed in my school? And we've been so surprised that so many times, so many of the young people have said, "You are the first gay person I've met." And wow, I think you're really cool, I love your tattoos and your hair. You know, and so we've got feedback there from teachers and students, just a small collection. We're going to hand out leaflets, I believe, now, with all our contact details on. If you have a look on our website, monitoring from every show we've ever done is on there in PDF format. We ask 3 questions at the end of each show, just on a small piece of paper, and ask young people to add their own comments if they'd like to. And we've never had less than a 97% success rate at changing perceptions. That's pretty good, 97%. So, which is why we stick. That's why we stick with this format, and I know that some teachers and some schools have been very concerned about the strong language. The young people aren't concerned at all about it, at all. And they at least feel like you're not trying to wrap them in cotton wool when you show them issues as real as you can do. However, we do have an adapted version of the show with no strong language at all, with the homophobe scene gone and a kind of childish bullying scene in there, because we did a week of tours, a week of primary school shows in Essex in July last year, which was absolutely outstanding. It was all year 6s, and it was absolutely incredible. We do take a resource pack which includes links to Schools Out, of course, the classroom, which is a fantastic resource. And yeah, that's it. So if anybody's got any questions, get them out. Anybody?
We got one.
How often do people cry?
Quite often, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite emotional.
We kind of join occasionally.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes it gets a bit.
When we're practicing and when we're rehearsing, we specifically don't do the tributes because
they're too.
we just don't do them because it's
Too real.
When we do a vox pop, I bubbled 3 times. Hands up if you bubbled less than 3 times. Hands up if you bubbled 3 times. More than 3 times. There we go. Sorry.
And isn't that a good thing though, that something can get you emotionally, and we think that's the power behind this, is that these things, everything we've shown you, happens. It all happens in real life, and that is what gay people have to put up with. I can't tell you the amount of times I've sat on a bus and heard somebody saying to his mate, "Shut up, you queer." And now I've actually started to say, "Excuse me, is your friend actually gay?" "No." "Well, I am." So, I used to be very scared of doing that, but it's fine, you know, people are, I think I'm a bit scary looking. So they leave me alone.
I just wanted to ask, like, how big of groups would you work with? I'm just thinking, because I'm training to be a youth worker, so some of the groups that I work with are quite small, so it's like...
We've done, acoustically speaking, we think about 150 is a maximum number, which is what we've had to do in the schools because we don't use microphones or anything. The further back people are, the less they can hear us. So we did do some for 250 at Wood Green Academy in Birmingham. Brilliant school, had us in for every single year group. Really took a kind of positive approach at tackling homophobia. But the first couple of shows there were 250 students in the gym, and the ones at the very back couldn't hear us, so we cut it down to 150. But we've worked for 2 people before today, seriously.
Have you thought of including a scene where a teacher is homophobically abused?
That's a good idea, actually.
What we do, I mean, it's worth mentioning, and it's a valid point. Because we're established and we've been around a while and we're a national company, particularly one reference point is when we performed in the prison, some of the feedback we took on board and we actually adapted the show.
Oh, in fact, the show that we did at the prison, one of the guys wrote on the feedback form that he took a little bit of offence to the lady I play. You know, and he said, please show the other side. Because, and hence we added the character to make sure that that was covered, that, you know, all we're talking about is that bigotry happens to shout the loudest.
But we do take feedback very seriously, and we do incorporate it.
We've added show 1-2, which is us four and two ladies, two females, which is
Actual real women.
it's women and a lady. So 2 women and us four, and it's a much longer show. It's an hour, and there's a lot more in it, and a lot of what's in show 1 too has been from audience feedback.
If anybody wants one, by the way.
Yeah, we've got leaflets for show 1 too, and leaflets for show 1 to kind of. Well, I assume everyone's got one now. All our contact details are on there.
You've got the other leaflets.
Yes.
Any more questions?
If you go in schools, what kind of workshops would you do with the kids?
Just a basic discussion workshop afterwards, open to any questions, and sometimes you can sit there for a good 10 minutes and no one will ask a question, and then somebody will just kind of go, you know, and as soon as one starts, they all start. And that's when I'm saying the questions are actually really intelligent. What did your mum and dad think? Did you know at school? How old were you when you knew? Really, really intelligent questions, wanting to know what makes you a gay person, you know, and it's great.
I think it's worth pointing out, just before we take another question as well, that we've performed in really diverse communities. So when Paul says we get in really intelligent conversation and really intelligent feedback, this is from a very broad cross-section of students and teachers. It's not like we've hand-picked schools to go and perform in. It's been quite the opposite, if anything, hasn't it?
Yeah. We had what was it, where that boy came out the back?
Oh,
Some people said they knew he was out, and some people had no idea. This kid just put his hand up, asked a question, and was like, well, I'm gay. And all these kids went. We had this
guy over there, Jen.
Obviously, I think the speaker there wants to say about how we obviously see how powerful and positive it can be. What sort of, have you had any very negative reactions? How have you combated those when you have had any?
We haven't really. The one kind of that sticks in my mind. We went to do a show for a mental health charity network, and some of the service users were there. And one of the guys at the end in the question workshop said, "Why do gay men like kids?" And I said, "What do you mean by that? Do you mean like gay men like kids to, oh look, love the little kid?" And he said, "No, why do you like kids?" And then he said, "Sexually." But I was very happy for the question, because it was a good chance to explain to him and his friends that that was a big misconception, and that's just one of the things that spouts from homophobia. And he was like, "Oh right, I never knew that," you know. So, but otherwise, it was not really any real negative.
What it is it's not so much negativity. It's just bloody hard work. It's really hard work to get into schools and to get the message across a lot of the time, and we've been at it and we've worked hard. I mean, we're passionate about what we do, we're dedicated to what we do. We do stuff, 50% of what we do is voluntary, and you know, when we're lucky enough to get paid for what we do, then even better. It's hard to get into schools, and I think teachers are saying they want the help and they want the support, and without a doubt students want the information. And the information, our evaluations prove time and time again that it's similar to the other group. We have a long-standing, when we've gone into a school, the effects last, they continue, and the word spreads, and students, with the feedback we're getting is that students are pulling each other up now, and that it's generating discussion and conversation and acceptance or tolerance. I don't really like the word tolerance, but it's acceptance, and you know, it's openly being discussed, and teachers have been able to deal with it in a better way, in a more constructive way as well.
And just going back to the size of the audience, if it was a large audience, say 150 students, would you then separate off into smaller groups to do discussion, or keep them as one whole group?
Keep them as one whole group, unless the school or teacher wanted to work it otherwise.
We have occasionally split up into smaller groups, but most of the time it's just a free-for-all.
I think it's better than all children hear all questions and all answers.
Yeah, and we always say to them afterwards, if anyone has been too nervous to ask a question, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr and you know, all of those sites. And we do actually get a lot of questions by private message through our Facebook page. People saying, I didn't want to say anything at school, but I think I might be bisexual, or you know, and then we'll try and find a youth network near them, point them in the right direction. So there's a lot of positive that goes on afterwards as well, you know. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What age group would you say would be best? We all work at an all-boys school. So what year group do you think it would be best to target with that?
Ideal, this particular show that you've just seen from Year 7 up, the adapted version, Year 6, which would be the lowest we would go, I would think, Year 6, because of the content. However, Year 6 students that we performed for in Essex were amazing.
We were all blown away, to be honest.
We were panicking, weren't we, thinking? And they were absolutely
10-year-olds.
Sorry, you waited.
Is it just students you work with, or do you also do like community shows? Because the organisation we run is very community-based, and obviously it starts from the parents, doesn't it?
Yes. No, we perform for anybody, anywhere, anytime. Across the board.
A good note to end on, I think.
Yeah. We are performing the full version, show 1-2, as our way of marking LGBT History Month at the 3-Minute Theatre in Manchester on Monday the 11th of February, and it's free to get in. So if you want to come...
On Oldham Street, Northern Court.
3-Minute Theatre, it's the ground floor of Affleck's Palace. The show will be starting at 7:30, we advise getting there for 7. We will have a donation bucket. And we'll, the
Monday, next
Monday the 11th.
Yeah.
Are you applying to event on Facebook? Sorry. Is there an event on Facebook?
Yes, on our Facebook page. Find Pink Triangle Theatre on Facebook and there'll be an event.
Give us a like.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hopefully this morning has given you lots of ideas and lots of resources to tackle what we have seen so powerfully here. I think for me, one of the shocking and most powerful statistics that we have is that the majority of homophobic crime and also the murders of the gay men, and Ian Bainham is a very good case in point, have been done by people who have either still at school or have just left school. I see that as an indictment of education. Those of us in this room are clearly passionate about wanting to make a change. I urge you, therefore, to continue the work, to pick up the resources, to look at all the stuff that's around. Over lunch, think about becoming a member of Schools Out. We'll have an AGM after a very important piece of presentation from Ofsted, because often teachers say Ofsted, oh goddess. Ofsted have been phenomenal, and you will learn this afternoon just how phenomenal they are in actually giving teachers support, case studies and information on their websites on how to tackle homophobia. It's just stunning.